Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Auscast network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Auscast.
Simply head to auscastnetwork.com for details.
Hey Dave, check this out.
Yeah?
You're listening to Apple Slice, the world's okayest tech podcast. What do you reckon?
So it's pretty familiar.
Yeah, it does. I was inspired by another podcast on the Auscast network. I wonder who that could be.
The okayest. Either the second
Yes.
okayest or the... that's all right. That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm willing to lend the licensing.
Okay, anyone unfamiliar with who's on the other end is that Nick is not here this week, and we have Dave from Barely Audible podcast, another podcast on the Auscast network. So how's it going, man?
Good. Been in the makings to do an episode with you guys. It's good. Well, I was looking forward to both, but Nick can't make it, so I'm willing to fill in.
Yeah, this is cool. And if anyone does listen to Barely Audible over the past couple of episodes, he has mentioned us several times. So there has been a level of expectation. So I'm glad to finally get you on.
If you have listened to the latest one, I was talking to you about apps, and I really thought they were going to cut that from the show.
No, that's all right. And the alternative name of Android Slice wasn't too hot on that. So.
Oh yeah. Oh no, I was Android Byte. I was going
Android
for the
Byte, that's
Mega
it, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so Black Friday's come and gone. Our email inboxes have been obliterated with sales. Cyber Monday has come and gone too. Apple, of course, their offerings were not in the case of discounted items, but in the way that you got Apple Store gift cards.
I did like that.
Yeah, at a decent value. So if you bought something like a MacBook, it was like up to...
It was $280.
That's it.
In-store credit. And we're going to talk about it, but I bought the MacBook Air, and I got mine through eBay specials, and I got mine at $300, so just up to the same line discount. So that's pretty good.
Wow, that is good. You're really working the system there.
Yeah, well.
Okay, so while you said you bought that prior to the sales, did you actually buy anything on Black Friday?
No, I'm trying to think. I don't think I did.
Yeah, it's definitely been more of a thing, like in Australia this year. I feel like it's certainly it's not American level stampede level hype, but it's certainly getting there.
Yeah, it's the first year for us over here, and it's always been I've heard of Black Friday. But this was the first year it was like, oh, it's here. And it's not like it couldn't have been here before, but it's weird how Australia has adopted it as well, even though it should have happened a long time ago.
Yeah, I think it's kind of similar to, Halloween is getting more and more prominent, so we're sort of slowly becoming America.
Not to go off too much, but yeah, same deal with the Halloween. I'm in two frames of mind about it. Before I had kids, I was like, Halloween, who needs to blah, blah, blah. And then now I got kids, I'm like, oh, it could be fun to, take them out and trick or treat.
At least for me, maybe just an excuse to get dressed up. I love dressing up in costumes and stuff. Anyway, I don't know about trying to obtain lollies from strangers' houses, but
yes.
At least dressing up as something spooky is kind of cool. So, what is Barely Audible? What type of podcast is it, and who else do you do it with?
Okay, so Barely Audible, the world's okayest podcast. We just make jokes, current events. It's really an excuse. We just created a podcast so that we had an excuse to get away from our families as therapy and just hang out as friends. And and we all listen to podcasts as it is. And we thought, we'll just do some recordings. And then we were like, we want to. I was like, maybe we can get a hold of some other podcasts and see if we can. Talk to them, and that's when we come across the Auscast network, and they were kind enough to adopt us into their group, and it just keeps growing. They're up to a fair few podcasts by now, around 30 podcasts on the network.
Yes, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I've certainly befriended a few of them, and when we first joined, I was like listening to all your episodes and stuff as well. So I was kind of familiar with the fact that you were into Apple, and it's not until all this time later that basically, you approached me. I thought, oh, great, let's get you on.
And glad to do it, because I am a big fan of Apple products, but I fall into, like, I feel like I'm a big fan, and then I listen to your guys' podcast, and I was like, I am a little fan of Apple, and I am dealing with the juggernauts.
I would say I say I'm an enthusiast, and Nick says he's an evangelist. So that's the kind of level. Well, speaking of Apple, what was your gateway drug into it? What was your first product that kind of excited you about the brand?
I reckon I had a HTC that could copy and paste, and my friend Hillman, does a podcast with me, Barely Audible again. We went to school together, and he's like, "Oh, this Apple iPhone, like first generation," and I reckon I got one, even though it couldn't be used here. So I was early adopter, and I got a hold of one, and I was pretty sure I couldn't even use it. I think I used it over Wi-Fi just to do simple stuff at home, but I think I got it late, and then before I knew it, the next one was out, and I had that one. And I remember early on just like, oh, you can't, like, that's why I mentioned the HTC, like the copy and paste. It was insane that was something that didn't come, or I felt didn't come early. I mean, and that's, it was a learning curve by Apple, but it was a leaps and bounds. So I was on board straight away. I remember getting the first, I took the first one to work, and I gave it to someone, and the classic rookie mistake, I handed it to them, and they grabbed the box at the top, and the bottom, it just like slowly that air suction. That slow air suction, and you just watch it all in slow motion, and it hit the ground, and I broke, but the phone was fine. I was just like, okay. Yeah. And I was like,
I would have too.
And he was like, how much did you say that cost? And I was like, oh, fuck. I was like, it was great. It's good. It's still working.
So fast forward to closer to the present day, you had a bit of an ongoing investigation in regarding some AirPods that were stolen.
Yeah, so if I can try and shorten the story, I trained at the gym. It was over Queen's birthday long weekend. So busy weekend. I had trained on the Saturday. Monday, I was at work, went to listen to my favourite podcast on the Auscast network. We'll just keep mentioning that. There was I was like, oh, forgot my headphones. And then I'm like, cords. And then I used the Find My Phone app, which shows the last place that your AirPods were connected. Said it was at the gym. Went down there, asked a few people. No one's seen it. And then I checked Facebook and Gumtree, which international listeners, just it's somewhere where you can sell stuff privately. And I found him, and it was by the guy who was at the gym who just told me he hadn't seen him. I went to the police. They went over there. He confessed, and then the story gets so weird and out of control. But in the end, the blunder was done by the police. They didn't put compensation for me in, and the guy still didn't end up paying for them. And he ended up paying a lot in court fees. So I was of two minds. I was pretty annoyed that someone had stolen them and had lied to me, but then I was just happy I bought a new pair, and I was happy to have them back. And I know it sounds a little bit deflated, but since then I've seen him. I see him at one gym, and then that gym gets rid of him because he just must. I don't know if he's a serial AirPod thief or something, but he just keeps getting kicked out of gyms.
He might be a kleptomaniac.
Could be.
Yeah, he just can't control himself. Yeah,
he's an Apple fiend.
Yeah,
he's like a guest next week. I'm surprised he's not on right now. So no, just in we're doing a fitness challenge over at Barely Audible at the moment. Next month is big fitness challenge, and I've been approaching some gyms to try and sort out some sort of sponsorship stuff. And I walked into another gym, and there he was, and I was like,
oh wow!
I was like, it was a small gym, very out of the way, very small gym, and I was just like, I'll just turn around. I'm like, I'm not gonna like this guy. I feel sorry for him at this point. I'm like, he probably had to pay all those court fees. He's I was like,
Oh,
over
wow.
a pair of
Does
headphones.
he even make eye contact or?
Oh, he didn't see me that time. But
Okay.
other times I've had friends who train with me. They switched gyms, and he was in that gym, and then I presume he left that gym because they were at that gym. And
Wow. It's an intriguing story,
it's funny that it's over just this little pair of earphones, and it's good to know for people that you can use Find My.
It's just the Find My iPhone app, yeah. But okay, well, so you replaced them because you got some new AirPods, and there's something else that you got new from Apple recently, and that is the 13-inch MacBook Air. So I want to push forward into our product perception category and get a bit of a review for it, because I haven't actually seen it yet. I am several hours drive from my closest Apple store, but to kick it off, who is this actually for? Was it for you or for your other half?
It's for my wife. She's a hair artist, and yeah, it's for her business. If when it comes tax time, and
okay,
I have an iPhone XS Max. I've got AirPods, Apple Watch Series 1, and I have my last year's Apple Mac Retina. What is it, 15-inch?
Yeah, 15-inch.
No. What's the large one? Whatever the larger size is. So comparing that to my other products, this is it was actually quite new and fresh to me. Obviously, I set it up for it, but one of my favorite features on this thing is the fingerprint sensor. Now, do you have a MacBook Pro?
Yes. Yep. So I've had this, since they first introduced Touch Bar.
See, I'm still logging in with a password on my Mac. And I've got the phone, which with the Face ID, and just that fingerprint sensor. I'd feel like that's that's Apple, smooth entry.
But can you do Apple Watch unlock on yours?
On my Mac?
Before, when you said 15-inch, I thought you were talking about a laptop, but you're talking about an iMac, are you?
Yeah, an iMac. I have an
yes,
it's what I
course.
do most of my editing and all that sort of stuff on. But this MacBook Air, I've never had an Apple laptop of any type, and it's actually it surprised me how energy efficient for what it does, and how all the apps are they are tailored to this. I thought it was just going to be like my Mac, but they are tailored for efficiency, and they also for screen size, like screen real estate. I can see the apps sort of like Safari, sort of the top bar disappears and stuff like that.
Yep.
I'm loving it. It's very lightweight. I went down to JB Hi-Fi to get my wife a case, like just a travel case for it. And Black Friday. There you go. This is what I got. It was a $40 case, marked down to $10, and I got to the counter and they were like $1, thanks.
Wow.
And I was like, pay wave, I guess. And then she's like, would you like you want a bag with that? And I was like, I feel like I'm ripping you off if I get a bag and a case for $1. But
what a deal! What a deal!
I thought about buying the rest of the cases, but no, I couldn't tell you how to compare it to any other laptop. But I'm certainly enjoying its portability, its efficiency, because I've been moving around a lot. My house obviously burnt down, and my parents have gone. For your listeners, my house burnt down,
which we will come to.
Yes, but I live with the in-laws at the moment, and my parents went on holiday, so I had to go house sit for them, and I was glad that I didn't have to pack up my Mac and bring it over, because I was certainly missing my Apple products, and with the MacBook Air, it did the job just fine.
Cool. Okay, so what color, what storage size, that sort of thing?
Okay, so we wanted to make it look like it was one of the good ones, so we got the dark space grey, so it looks like the Pros.
Yes.
Storage space, I got the 256 gig.
Okay.
And I think that's it. They only have the two options in storage space and color. Yeah. That's about it. The very large trackpad is good. I did compare it to that's what I did as well. I compared it to the older MacBook Air, and I was like, I wouldn't have noticed it unless I looked at the old one, and I was like, wow, they definitely did a good job making sure that this was larger, because the last one was small. Yeah,
so this is so you get the 13-inch Retina screen. That's one of the biggest differences compared to the previous Air, but then they made the actual form factor itself smaller because they've reduced bezels around the screen and all that sort of thing. But it's got the iconic wedge style MacBook Air shape It's thinner towards the end, so it allows you to pick it up easily compared to whereas my MacBook Pro is just one uniform thickness. So so it's because the MacBook Air itself was as they said in the keynote, their most popular Mac laptop, and people have just continued to buy them even though the previous one is like heavily outdated. And so this here, when they released it, really like specs wise, feature wise, everything comes like smack bang between the 12-inch MacBook and then the 13-inch MacBook Pro. So, but it's cheaper than the 12-inch MacBook by like $50. So, it's a good all-rounder. Like if I said to you, when you quizzed me about it just before you bought it, I said if I didn't need the kind of more pro-level specs for just a lot of my Adobe programs and stuff that I use, then I would definitely go with something like this.
Also, the USB-C. So this is the first time that I've had to go, all right, now I need dongles. Like
my
MacBook has a USB-C on the back, but I've never need to use it because the USBs are there. So now dongle city. But that is so much better, the USB-C charging.
And just even how handy the port is, just being able to plug it in any direction.
Yes.
I just think that in itself, dongles can be a bit of a pain, but I mean, I've been living dongle life for 2 years now, and I'm just so used to it. And I only have to, I've only ever had to plug in a USB-A thumb drive once into it, and I barely use it. And then the most of the time I use it is when I'm plugging into HDMI for the screen at work. When we're doing meetings and stuff, and that's pretty much it. So it hasn't really been a big issue. I've got adapters for microphone and all that sort of thing, but
I felt like a caveman setting up before this podcast because I didn't have a standard auxiliary cable. I actually had to go to the neighbor and be like, have you got, and rummaging through their drawers just to get a standard audio auxiliary cable.
Well, there you go.
That's quite funny.
That's when good neighbours become good friends.
Oh.
Okay, so so you said it's got a good weight, good feel in the hand. Now the portability factor with your wife's needs for it, is she doing this all at home or is she actually taking it out and about?
She's taking it out and about. I've showed her how to hotspot, and she also uses the very popular Square for card transactions and stuff like that. So at the moment, once again mentioning that with the house being burnt down and my wife a hairdresser, she does do a little bit of moving around to suit her clients' needs, and Square and the MacBook, perfect combination.
That's fantastic. Because you didn't have any previous Mac laptops, it's probably a bit of a hard question, but could you notice any difference in the coloring or anything looking at the actual aluminium body of this? Because this is the first Mac product made from 100% recycled aluminium, and that was like a big thing as part of the keynote. So this and the Mac Mini are both made from 100% recycled aluminium, and I was just wondering if there was any visual difference or not. It would probably be very hard to tell.
Well, the Hillman from the show, he has his MacBook Pro.
Try compare that.
Yeah, in saying that, I couldn't really tell much of a difference. But talking about the eco-friendly packaging, this came wrapped in all the paper. Even the power brick had like the paper instead of the plastic. We did notice it was one of the things we were like, oh, geez, they really they brought the eco-friendly. But I actually did not know, and now I'm holding it up and having a look around. Now this looks completely. I mean, it's got a flawless finish. I mean, you couldn't tell that. I mean, obviously, it's not gonna have like huge flakes or whatever, but I mean, unless you want to pay extra.
Well, basically, if you didn't see the keynote, the recycled element, it's made up of basically leftover aluminium from when they're cutting out the panels and all that sort of stuff for other Apple products. So rather than getting rid of like the shavings and little extra bits, they basically meld it all together and then they use that material. So it's because they've got this big picture goal of like a complete closed loop manufacturing sort of setup, and
that's why they built that big circle, right?
Yeah, but But, you know, they've got obviously the iPhone disassembly robots and all that sort of stuff, and they've got all the, you know, solar, all the Apple stores and everything run off of solar energy and all that sort of thing. So this was good to see because it's just like another step towards that goal.
This is where you need to insert that image of Rob Schneider, I think it is, where he's talking about marriage as a circle.
Yes.
Like a Apple circle, all of that. They're keeping it clean, keeping it environmentally friendly. I mean, they have to keep up a good image. They don't want to turn into like a huge company that's just like evil and destroying the planet. Well,
yeah, I mean, I do keep an eye on, obviously this is an Apple podcast, but I do keep an eye on all what the other companies are doing. And in terms of just like the initiatives and the reports and just even the coverage of it, I definitely see much more in that environmentally friendly space from Apple. So it is quite encouraging.
Maybe you'll be able to answer this question for me. The Apple logo on the MacBooks, did that used to face a different direction? Because when I first grabbed the MacBook, I went to open it from the way that Apple was facing me, and then I realized, oh, this is for everyone else to see when I'm using the MacBook. It's not for me to see.
It's always been like that. So the people, so MacBooks and that prior, like even the previous MacBook Pros, it was the illuminated logo, so actual logo would light up, whereas they've replaced it with like that metal shiny one. But it's always been that when you're using it, people on the other side of it will see the Apple logo in the correct position.
I started noticing that in movies and stuff like that with the different brands as well. You're like, oh yeah, and then you notice it when they cover it up, like they didn't get the sponsorship.
They do TV shows all the time. Yep. They got like a circle covering up, or even a different logo entirely. So
yeah, the more ridiculous ones where it's like a pineapple, and you're like, all right, buddy.
Yeah. So how have you found the keyboard? Because this is one of the biggest bones of contention amongst Apple communities. Some people love the flatter butterfly style keys, which I do, and then some people swear that they hate it and it's unusable, which is ridiculous to me. So
yeah, no, I agree with you. Because me and my wife were looking at a MacBook, any kind of laptop, we had been for the last 4 or 5 months, and I said to my wife, I'm like, no, we'll wait. Because, rumors and all that, and these that's one of the biggest things I said to my wife. I said, walk around here, touch this Pro, see this keyboard, now walk back around and touch those big, thick looking, what are they, dominoes? Yeah. They're like huge tiles.
In comparison.
Pull them out, my kids, backlit at nighttime, no issues. That's been perfectly fine. The audio is nice and clear. I've had that, we've already started watching Netflix in bed with it, loving it. If it was a McDonald's product, that would go well with
I'm loving it. This is good. This is a very positive review all round. I'm glad that you've got enough hands-on experience and you're doing things like sharing it and that as well.
You want me to say my negative thoughts on this thing? All right.
Ooh.
No,
I am looking for an honest review.
So, as far as Apple products go, I'd have to say this one was the most annoying for me to set up. Now, everything else has always been seamless. I don't know where the problem lied with setting this up, but I was holding her toy going, no, I'm trying to set it up. And she's like, I just want to use Safari. I'm like, no. I was really just trying to get the handoff working because I have it with my Mac and all my other stuff. And just I got it going after, one sitting of about half an hour, but it's the first time it hasn't been seamless. I had to watch a couple of YouTube videos to get it going, and I think it boiled down to just a couple of things not being toggled on. Did you have
to do the log out of iCloud, log back in trick, or?
Yes, that was part of it, and I
had to do the same thing when I got my Touch Bar MacBook Pro as well.
That's my complaint. My complaint was, I had to log out and log back in. Like, as far as complaints go, it's not the biggest issue.
Yeah, so that's the only thing that I've come across in terms of recent Apple products that I've got where I've come up against something or it hasn't worked straight away. Whereas, say, even my new iPad Pro, that was just ridiculously easy to set up, especially with the whole hold your phone near the iPad, transfers all your settings, all the Wi-Fi, everything over. And then
like the AirPods connection.
Yeah, you literally just hold it there, and then you have to. There's one bit where you like. Similar with the Apple Watch, with that kind of like sphere made of all those little particles, you got to like hold that up to the camera, and then that authenticates it. and then it pushes everything over, and then it's pretty much after that, it was just set up Face ID. That was super easy on it, and it was ready to roll. So
now, I don't know if we have a few moments to talk about the Apple Watch. Now, I was listening to your podcast last week, and I've got the Series 1, and I know some people who have got the latest Series 4 watch, and I'd love to go out and buy one, but I was always going, my Series 1 still does what I need it to do. I am a big fan of the Siri watch face. Yes. It's hands down for me. It's the best for my series. But even interacting with my watch, I don't do much interacting with it as it is. But you guys sold me on one feature that makes me want to go get the new one and sell my old one. And that's, you said, do you just raise your wrist to use Siri?
Yes, yeah. So it's called raise to Siri. It's you can. The only time it won't work is if you raised your wrist and then the screen didn't light up. But it pretty much does every time. So
just the normal wrist flick, and when the screen lights up, then it's ready to hear you, and you don't even have to say Siri's name, and you just go move forward from there.
Yeah, so it's basically a combination of it detects the fact that it's on because you've raised your wrist, and then it also detects like the proximity to your mouth, sort of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
But still, you don't have to say that phrase, which...
Yeah, you don't have to say the phrase. So before, when I messaged you to ask, oh, hey, are you going to be ready in half an hour? I did that with a raise to Siri.
Yeah, I was so, as soon as I, and with all the features it has, I'm like, I can do without it. And then that one ease of use. I use Siri a fair bit in relation to call and text and timer and a couple of things like that. But in all honesty, if you want to cut it, I am much bigger fan of the Google Home over the Siri HomePod, the Apple HomePod. Oh, I have some Google Home products, and just the effortlessness, and that's what I liked when I heard about the wrist thing. I was like, oh, that's good.
Yeah, I mean that's fair enough. I wanted HomePod for the audio quality, basically. So I wasn't going to buy, like, Nick bought a Google Home before they were available in Australia. Like, he got one imported over. So because he's an early adopter with mostly Apple products, but he was really intrigued by the whole like home speaker thing. But as soon as HomePod came out, he sold his Google Home, and I just I have a friend that lives near me, and he's very much in the Android space, but he's like, oh, hey, come and check it out. And he's like, went to play some music on it. I was just like, music sounds a bit tinny, blah, blah, blah. And they're in a different bracket. Like, you can't compare those two because you have to compare the HomePod with the Home Max because of the...
and all that kind of...
Whether or not, there are the rumors of whether or not Apple release a lower end one to compare with the Google Home. I'm not sure. I don't really care. I was more into just... Okay, yes, I've got the smart speaker features. Yes, I use it a lot. Timers, messages, calls, playing music, all that sort of stuff works great. But I just wanted to know that the one that I had I could turn it up loud and it sounded awesome. So that was the selling feature for me.
Yeah.
But if you're more into, because okay, there's plenty of ways that you can compare it, but the general consensus is overall, say with Google's voice assistant, is ahead in the sense that because they don't have like the privacy and security things in place like Apple do. Like
I know that I once tried to say, I went up to like an Apple section in a Harvey Norman. They had a very large Apple section. No, it was Good Guys, but very large Apple section. And I said to him, I was like, man, those Google HomePods, they can do so much. And he was like, oh, privacy. And I didn't know the level of the difference there, how machine learning and how much Siri does on board and isn't shared, whether the level of privacy that anything you say into the Google stuff, they're like, yep, okay, he likes watching this, listening to that, everything. It's all theirs to play with.
It just depends how you feel about that stuff. Like, Nick is a huge advocate for the privacy factor. Apple definitely, between these big tech companies, they're leading in that way. Like, if you're comparing Apple to Amazon to Google, Amazon is the most intrusive, and then Apple is the least. using things like differential privacy and encryption and all that sort of stuff as a way to, not be able to match your data against the user and things like that. So they have to come up with a lot of kind of like tricky ways to achieve the same types of results that Google do, but without actually getting into the user's data and stuff. So
that's pretty good.
And I mean, and they're upholding that very strongly. Whether it's to their detriment or not is up to you. I still think, and I will always say that Siri from the voice assistant side of things, definitely there's big areas for improvement, but Siri is more than the voice assistant. So the stuff that's actually happening on the phone, within the Photos app, suggestions, different things like that. Now you've got Siri shortcuts, all that sort of stuff. That's great. Like, I find that stuff impressive. So if you're basing it on just the voice level, which most people would, then yes, there is a difference in some areas. But yeah, there still is for me a little bit of a hesitation of using the voice assistant in public. I have sort of broken that a bit with AirPods and
yes.
stuff like that, and especially now with the raise to Siri on the watch, it's a lot better.
Oh, how quick did you have the AirPods? So you were straight away day one?
So I'm pretty sure Nick had the first ones in Australia.
Wow.
We did a whole story of that. Yeah, he was like the first one's in Sydney, and Sydney was like one of the first stores to open. So he recalled the story of how he was like running through the store against these other people early, as soon as it opened, and so that was pretty interesting. And his photo of the AirPods went like all over the tech news sites and stuff, because it was like Australia's ahead of America in time zones. So that was awesome. So he was day one for sure, and I was probably a couple months later.
When I first got my AirPods, I was I loved it. It is part of that Apple I don't want to call it just, proud about having Apple products and walking around and being like, oh, yeah. And it was so funny because of the tap feature. You tap to pause and tap to play, but it was also sort of like you were tapping going, huh? Look what I got. Like when you're going around and people, their looks on their faces when they didn't know. One of my favorite responses was one of my wife's clients, one of their kids, and this was maybe a month ago. I walked in and he looked at me and he goes, "You've got white ears." And I was like, he's like, yeah, they're headphones. And he goes, "They're broken." And I was like, all right, I'm not explaining this to you.
Hey, the first time I put them in, and I came back from walking the dog, and my wife's nan was around, and she's like, "What are you wearing earrings for?" Yeah, so I have to explain that too. And yeah, so when the AirPods came out, it was like kind of a fashion and kind of ahead of everyone else. Like, look what I've got. When I got the iPhone XS Max, I got it as quick as I could. It came like early morning of the first day that people were able to have them, and I was like, I felt special having it. I went to the shops and I saw one other person with it within half an hour, and I was like, oh. No, it's gone already. Special feeling gone. I don't know. So 15 seconds of VIP.
Yes.
For me, down where I live, I don't see many of them. If I go to the city, for sure. When I went to America recently, like especially San Francisco, they are everywhere. Like,
the AirPods?
People riding around on their scooters, AirPods everywhere and that. But yeah, particularly where I am, regional Western Australia, I've only seen like two other sets in public. So I still feel a little bit special down here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. You said something about the watch being able to unlock the computer.
Yes.
How does that work?
Yeah, so you go to the system preferences, you go to security, and then there's a bit that you can tick to go allow Apple Watch to unlock the Mac. And then it'll do that. And so basically when you go to open it or go to log in, it'll just unlock it without needing the password.
So I'm
pretty sure they have to be on the same Wi-Fi network. I don't know if it works over Bluetooth. Like the watch to the watch and the Mac. Yeah,
allow your watch to unlock your Mac.
Yeah, so I don't know if it'll work for you right now because you're not within Wi-Fi.
Oh no, this is also my wife's MacBook, so I wouldn't be able to do it. But would that work for my full-size Mac? Would it?
I don't. Oh, how old is yours? I don't know.
Last year's model, but. That's something to look into.
I haven't bought an iMac for ages, so I'm not sure. It's definitely with all the all the MacBooks and MacBook Pros and stuff. It's definitely a feature.
I would have to say that I still think the fingerprint's going to beat out the watch, but it depends on how the watch would go with that. So if the watch just is in proximity to the how does that work? It's automatic or?
Pretty sure they have to be on the same Wi-Fi network.
Yes.
To do it.
All right.
But it works quicker. Like, by the time I open the lid, and then it's unlocked it.
Yeah, so there's no prompting it. It's just an automatic feature.
It automatically does it.
Ah, nice.
Yeah, and then you get you feel it on your wrist, and then your watch tells you it's unlocked the Mac. So
I like that.
Yeah, no, it's cool. Okay, let's move forward to some controversial headlines, and I use air quotes for that because basically Bendgate has returned for the iPad Pro, and this definitely harks back to when the iPhone 6 came out, which was years ago now. We got this YouTuber, Jerry Rig Everything, and he's known for all these stress tests and everything of products. And as you would know, anything that could be possibly scandalous against Apple basically gets you clicks. So
yes,
that's the aim of the game lately with any form of kind of like tech reviews and that, which is a shame. It is essentially you just get more and more of these clickbait headlines. That being said, okay, he did bend the iPad Pro and it did break, okay? So I guess that part he's proven the point. But what he's got is who the hell
money to burn
bends their iPad?
Yeah. I did see some things on it, and where do you use your iPad on the go? Because the only place I could see it happening is they put it in their bag, and if they have something in their bag, like a ball or something that's going to, you know what I mean? Like something that they're going to press up against. But I don't see anyone, what are they, got it on their...
I don't see anyone with a device of this, like, prestige, I guess could be the right word.
Yeah.
Just chucking it in their bag with a ball.
I
wouldn't even do that with the regular, cheaper iPad.
And no one's sticking it in a back pocket. I mean, it's not small enough for that. I mean, that was a fair call with the, I believe, was it the first iPhone 6 Plus?
Yeah, it was iPhone 6 Plus, particularly.
Yeah,
then,
in the pocket.
By the time the 6S came out, actually even before that, they changed something in the metal used, which was like strengthened it.
Yeah.
But that was a similar thing, whereas that was a little bit more of a case because, yes, they could fit in your pocket, but at the same time, who bends their phone? I just think like the iPad claim is a bit more ridiculous because it's like, come on.
Yeah, unless it's I mean, yeah, you can bend it if you've got money. I mean, just don't bend it. Yeah, it's just another thing, like you said. If it's got an Apple logo on it, someone's looking for something like Beautygate. That was any gate. I don't get the gate.
It's like there
thing.
has to be a gate when there's an Apple product.
What was the first gate? As in like
Watergate's the
Watergate?
original that happened back in the 70s or whatever, and the
That's
first
where it
Apple
comes from.
one I think was Antenna Gate.
Antenna Gate. Oh, where you held your hand around the phone.
It was like the death grip.
Yeah, you're like, look at this.
Yeah,
I can kill my phone.
And that was certainly more, of an issue. I just think that people are scrounging for any form of gate this time round. And okay, it is the thinnest iPad to date. So, thinner it is, the more bendable it's going to be. And yeah, ultimately, anyone that's sort of responded to this has said, well, it's just physics,
Yeah.
I don't really know how they're going to, I think if they use any form of thicker glass, the glass wouldn't be responsive enough for touch. So it's like, what are the trade-offs?
Yeah. How are you going with your iPad? Obviously, you haven't bent it or attempted to bend it.
If you see me with how I am with Apple products, particularly new ones, like I am, like I look after them better than I look after my own children. Like,
and you yell at them half as less as well.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, I don't even want to get like a little scuff on the folio cover. I'm very careful with just sliding that into my bag and make sure that's like flush against the. I don't even want the iPad Pro with the folio case being pressed up against the underside of the MacBook Pro in case the feet on the MacBook Pro rub against the folio case. Like that's the level.
Right.
Yeah.
So you've got an iPhone, obviously.
I've got 10.
It would be insane if you just said, no, I got a Galaxy. Like, why would I have a...
that would be.
No, so you've got case, right? For sure, right?
So I've got the 10. I had the 6S prior to that because I was always on the 2-year cycle, right? And it wasn't until in the last year of the 6S that because I used to use D-brand skins a lot. Like I went from cases to skins because I wanted the slim, and then I ended up. I think I damaged the skin somehow. I took it off, and I was just like nothing, just went bare, and that helped kind of like break that. It kind of gave you confidence to use it without anything on there. And then with the 10, I was like, okay, I'll get some skins for it. And it just didn't feel right, like having the skin then against the steel edge. So I was like, nah, screw this. Took the skin off. And I've told the story on the podcast before. I was like, yep, I'm going to go without anything on there. I've got Apple Care, whatever. Have that level of confidence. Then I went to go like crouch down to check out something on the bumper of the car and the driveway. And I actually had these mats down on the driveway next to me. I pulled them out the boot, and the phone made of glass, obviously, very slippery, slipped out of my pocket and then landed on the mat instead of hitting the hard driveway.
Ooh.
I was like, no, I'm getting a case. So I've got.
Yeah, that would have been scary.
It was very scary. I got an Apple leather case, but I think the main reason was because it is just, given that it has a glass back and that, it can get slippery and attract fingerprints and that sort of thing. So while having a case adds to the thickness a bit, the Apple leather cases are nice. So that's what I use.
I've got a see-through plastic case so that my podcast logo on the back of my phone can be seen. But I've also got a front glass screen protector. So
okay, I've got no screen protector.
Yeah, living like this it certainly makes me feel a lot more at ease having both sides protected. I didn't used to, with my last phone, I never had a front screen protector because I didn't like that plastic. But
yeah, exactly.
If you have a look, these you can get glass ones that have wraparound edges.
Yep.
And they sit quite nice. One other thing I was going to complain about or talk to you about. I mean, I don't want to get too much off topic, but you have the ability to use Apple Pay, like your bank.
No, I don't. I don't.
Oh.
I've been in a 2+ year battle against Commonwealth Bank, trying to just complaining at every angle, trying to get them to push over.
I'm with NAB, and I'm in the same boat. Have this. They have this. It just annoys me.
Thing.
Yep, and it sticks to the back of your phone, and what that does for me is I can't get a flush form-fitting case, and I can't put the chip on the outside of the case because it could fall off. So I'm in this infuriating. I hate it. I hate NAB for doing it. It's just like, just give me Apple Pay. Give me what I want.
But yeah, particularly in the early days, at least the first year of Apple Slice, like Nick and I covered this, because it on and off, it was like the hot story, and basically it was like, at the time it was like the big four, and then ANZ then supported Apple Pay, and you had all these people switching from other big banks to ANZ because of it. Like Nick opened up, I think, an ANZ bank account at that time, and transferred money into it just to have it, and he was still with his previous bank too, and then slowly more and more other credit unions and other banks and stuff like Suncorp and that have and Bendigo have jumped on board. So it's just the remaining last three, the Westpac, NAB and Commonwealth. And yeah, every single social media post they do is just like, it could be anything. It's just filled with complaints of like, that's
a
nice.
good idea.
Give us Apple Pay. So
yeah. I thought I tried to look for a change.org, and there isn't one for NAB. There is for the other banks, but there isn't one for NAB. And I didn't think of that. I might just specifically follow NAB now, just to go, when's Apple Pay? When's Apple Pay?
So I think all it's going to take is for one of those big three to cave, and then the others will follow. Like, they'll have to.
I think, yeah. They got it. I mean, it's so. I've got 2 house loans and some business, all through my NAB. Like, everything's through my NAB, my insurance, and I would switch if it was just me. But I have the wife, and it's a hard thing to say. I want to swap.
I'm in the same boat because I would want to as well. But aside from Apple Pay, I've always had a good experience with Commonwealth. I like their apps. I like their, they got the watch app and everything, and the phone app, and it's great. And my wife doesn't see the benefit in, Apple Pay and
Isn't
stuff.
it fun?
Yeah, like she doesn't even like using paper, so it's just kind of like, yeah. So that's why I've been holding out all this time. I'm just like, well, I can't really go and open up another account, but all right. Well, let's move on to a very hot topic, and that's in the form of your iMac rising from the ashes and returning like Phoenix itself from the flames of the house fire. So how did this even happen?
Obviously, I covered on my show. If anyone listening here wants to hear the full story, but I can abbreviate it here. My house caught fire because I had a 3D printer that it was a show topic, come up a lot of the time. I was always printing things, and I made several things, microphone holders, toys for my kids, things around the house. I'm a big advocate for 3D printers. Now, you got to be careful with them because if you get some, they can have some overheating issues. Now, mine happened to suffer from one of those. I had it doing a 16-hour print overnight.
Wow.
And I checked it before I went to bed. That's a small, like some people run them days on end, depending on what kind of complex print you're having printed out of these things. But so 16-hour print, I checked it at night, checked it in the morning before I left for work. So literally about an hour after I checked it, it caught fire. So and I start pretty early in the morning, and my wife and kids were home, which is terrible.
Yeah.
They were having breakfast. I have photos of breakfast cereal bowls on the table with ash covering them because my wife, she thought she heard a knocking at the front door. She went down, and right near the front door is the garage, so the garage is next to it, and she opened the garage door, smoke, fire alarms going off, grabbed the kids out of the house. She called the fire department. They were there within 10 to 15 minutes, and still we lost the whole roof of the house is gone. And at the moment, we're in stages of rebuild, which is they've gutted the house. The only thing that's left standing is the walls, and the timber framework. Now, I was quite worried about the podcasting studio. Was in the front portion of the house, and that had my Mac, all the recording equipment, a lot of expensive equipment. I lost 2 Apple TVs in the fire. I lost a lot in the fire, but Apple products wise, I lost my 2 Apple TVs, which I was pretty not happy about because I love how smooth Apple TVs are at doing everything. I do have some Android products, and I still, when my house is built, I'm getting the 4K Apple TV.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sure you've got an episode I can go back and learn everything I need to about 4K Apple TV, but we're not here to talk about that.
When that was shown last September, but it's was that when it was last September? Yeah. So time flies. But yeah, it's pretty much just like not too much to talk about because it's so similar to the previous generation, just supports 4K and is faster.
And now has Dolby, right?
Yes, yeah. It's one of the only devices that has the Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos.
Not that in Australia we get any content like that or could stream it at what we need to, but
you'll be ready for when it does.
Exactly. So yeah, my Mac. So when it came time to insurance for all the equipment, I had immediately day one, I pulled all my podcasting equipment out. I checked it myself. The Mac, they said don't turn anything on. So I left it for a bit, but I checked it. Well, they said to me, I mean, we're already past this part, but they said don't turn it on, otherwise we might not be responsible for it. But I was like, it has everything on it. I'm not, because I said to him, I'm like, oh, okay, are you going to, take the hard drive out and transfer everything over? They're like, no, we're going to test it, and if it's deemed a write-off, then we throw it out. And I was like, right, no worries, because I grabbed everything and took it to my in-laws. I was like, right, I'll bring it back tomorrow, and immediately turned it on and got everything off of it, and saved everything, because in the house fire, we didn't actually lose, my wife still got, we didn't lose our marriage certificates, we didn't lose our birth certificates, she didn't lose her wedding dress. We actually didn't lose everything that was really those things that you can't get back. There's small things like we've come up to Christmas and we're like, Nana made us a fairy for the top of the Christmas tree. I was like, that's gone.
Yeah.
Small things like that, and no loss of life. I mean, only the fish. But anyway, so I hoarded all my products, and I was like, I didn't want to give them back, but for insurance purposes, I have to give them back. And I said to them, I said, look, I needed my podcast recording equipment, and I said, look, I've tested it. Everything seems to work. I give it back to you. You guys do what you got to do, but I need it back as soon as possible. And I fully expected my Mac, because I got everything off of it, I fully expected, I'm like, this is a throwaway. I'm getting a new Mac for sure. And I'm like, oh, am I getting the upgraded one? Because I got the base spec Mac as the first time getting one. And I was like, oh, I'm getting everything. And then they handed it back to me as if it was brand new. Even my Barely Audible sticker that I covered the front Apple logo with, they cleaned around it, and it looked brand new. Even the white cable, you know those cables, how they collect the smudges cable and all that.
Yeah.
Oh, I was like, what did you use? Like the keyboard looked.
So they just gave everything a damn good clean.
Yeah, whatever wizard products they got going on there.
So was there like smoke damage all over everything, or?
Well,
burns
here's the thing: the Apple Air vents are on the bottom of the Apple Macs, so no smoke was able to get in.
Yeah.
Right. Because it was at the bottom, and the other thing, the roof was torn off in that section, and the fireys had sprayed water all through the room.
Yeah.
So all my products did get a light dusting of water, and it all works. So, like, thank God for podcasting and all my equipment. But luckily, and it handed me my Mac back all brand new, which, I would have loved an upgraded model, but I'm also very happy that I copied everything over to another hard drive, but I didn't have to, do all the work to put it back on and all that kind of stuff.
Well, thank goodness no one was hurt, and your iMac survived. I mean, you should just send that story to Apple, and they can picture the next iMac update, be like, fireproof.
Fireproof, yeah. Don't worry. Through the podcast, the new Rodecaster Pro?
Yes.
I immediately emailed them images of my house being burnt down and all my equipment going, it'd be great if I could, get this product. We'll do a full episode review on it, but nothing. That's unfortunate. That thing looks insane.
Yeah, it does.
Yes.
That's very nice. That's fantastic. I hope I never have a house fire, and it sucks that you did, but I'm glad that you did you stare at like your half burnt down house and say, we will rebuild? Oh,
I'm a very sociopath is a bit of a weird term to use, but I'm my family's rock, right? So my wife, she was also putting on a brave face, but I'm there to support my family. And I said to her, look, everything in there is material.
Yeah.
Like, we're alive. None of that shit in there matters. Sorry, swearing on you. None of that stuff in there matters. We're alive. We're fine.
Yep.
This is nothing. 1 year, we're back in. That's it. Like, this is just 1 year of our life, living it. We got to live at the in-laws or do whatever we got to do. So
you're more like emotionally resilient.
Yes, I look at things a little bit too cold sometimes. I mean, I've come out of my house. I had a car. This was when I was a teenager. I had been working on this car for 6 months. VL, lowered, disc brakes, front and rear, manual, LSD diff, small sound system put through it, extractors. It was really nice. I finished doing that. The next day, it got stolen when I walked out to go to work. Ooh. And there was burnout marks up and down the street. And I was like, how'd I sleep through this? I mean, and all I did was I walked outside. I saw that there was no car. I walked back in. I woke my dad up. I say, hey, Dad, my car's been stolen. I need to get to work. That's all I was.
just like that. Yeah.
Yep. Need to get to work. It's just a car. I poured money, and what's there is the memories and the experience. Now, I would have loved to have, driven the car and had those memories and experiences too. But if you sit there and you get upset about it, you're getting upset about something that, you have no control over. Why? You know what I mean? It's stolen. It's gone. I could boo-hoo and cry and be sad, but what's the point? It's not going to get my car back.
So you're more of like it is what it is.
It is what it is.
That's it. Type of guy. Yeah. No, that's a good attitude to have. Certainly, yeah, as you said, helped in the situation of your house fire, and you could just be that solid rock of a man.
Yes.
For your family. So yes. Okay. Now you briefly mentioned Apple TV, and we'll finish up with a rumor of Apple considering a cheaper dongle-like Apple TV. So pretty much a direct competitor to Chromecast, and this would be a sole reason for this as something to help push the adoption of their long-awaited subscription service due in 2019.
Oh, so, what? They're still doing that?
If you've just go back pretty much any of the episodes this year, and then we've on and off have spoken about the types of shows, the types of directors, blah blah blah, the types of actors involved. They're pouring a lot of money into original content.
In my head, I'm just imagining these very clean, because Apple has this image, so all of their people, no Harvey Weinstein's, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just imagining these very, like, Will Smith kind of...
No, they've got an impressive range. Like, they got documentaries, they got, like, psychological thrillers, they've got, like a comedy, a drama, like, whatever. They've got Oprah on board. Not that I watch Oprah, but that's a huge name.
Yes.
You know, like, so... And the rumor is that all their original content will be free. Obviously, only playable through the Apple TV app on Apple devices. But I'm assuming they're going to get other shows too. But that would probably be the paid part of it. But basically, the rumor is that to help spread the adoption of this, let's release a Chromecast style device. Because similar thing with the whole home versus home pod thing is that you can't really compare Apple TV to a Chromecast, because Apple TV is its own box, its own remote. You don't need a device to cast from, and all that sort of thing. And so I'm always a fan of that over streaming something from a device. But this is a fresh rumor, so I would myself I'd be open to it. I don't think I'd get one because I'm already set up with Apple TV anyway, but it would
this is good news for me.
Help. It would help, yeah.
This is good news for me because I wasn't going to buy an Apple TV till I'm back in my house, and I have some Chromecasts, and the biggest thing, I mean, when I first got my Apple TV, I got the largest capacity I could, like storage size, because I thought, I'm like, all right, I'm all in.
Fill it up with
movies. I'm like, I'm on board. I'm going to buy these movies, and I was like, they didn't even. I mean,
it's all
this might have been.
Yeah.
I was like, what? And I was like, it's not. And I was like, oh, damn you, Apple! Just why have the storage capacity? Let me. Australia though, like in America, they can stream, like that high quality, easy.
Yeah.
But here I was so frustrated with that because I was like, straight out of the gate, I was like, oh, I'm going to buy everything through Apple TV.
In America, you're considered like living out in the sticks if your internet is 100 down, which is like the peak level for Australia.
Yeah. So the fresh rumors. So
it was a report from this site called The Information, which is a very dubious sounding. No, it is actually a reputable site, but that's a funny name. And that was the claim about it. So hey, they have been. Every year it's been like, Apple are going to preview their TV service, and no, it's held off. And I just think they're not going to come out and announce it or preview it until it's like close to launch. So I'm expecting either WWDC or the September event for 2019. And I mean, I'm definitely keen. I already use Netflix and Stan and stuff. So yeah, I'm definitely going to be checking out the shows on there, but I won't be getting one of these. But I do see its value.
Now, you've got kids, I've got kids. I have a Chromecast and a Chromecast Ultra. The biggest downfall about these products is no remote control. Now, they push it because you have a Google Home. I don't actually have the Google Home Mini. I have a Tick Home Mini. It still works on the same idea, but it's actually portable. I can move it around the house. But the biggest problem there is they push the voice control. So when you're watching your show from Netflix or whatever, it's the biggest thing I miss, like skip intro. You can't. They don't have that functionality built into the Chromecast. You can't skip any intros. You can't immediately skip to the next show. You can voice it. You can say you can't voice skip intro. You can't voice skip to the next show. And here's where I talk about kids. Your kids will come in the room, and so they're supposed to be sleeping. So you need to pause the TV. You can't immediately physically use a remote to pause the TV. You then it's nighttime. You then have to out loud announce, "Hey Google, pause TV," and then you make a noise at nighttime. Big flaw on their part. The Apple remote.
Yeah, I actually use the Apple remote app.
On your phone?
On my phone even more, because like I always have my phone on me, or even from the watch. I use the watch version as well sometimes.
Yeah.
And because if the remote's just sitting under the TV or I can't find it or kids have put it somewhere, at least I can use that. So that's really handy. And I certainly agree, because we watch stuff after the kids have gone to bed, and I don't want to be yelling voice commands.
My son did a while ago back in our old house. I had the Apple TV. Just got the new Apple TV with the when they brought out that touch sensitive pad at the top.
Yep.
He cracked it at me for some reason, and he took the remote and he walked outside and he threw it into the driveway. he would have been maybe 2, and he threw it into the driveway, concrete driveway. Shattered the glass top.
Oh, no.
2 weeks into having the remote, and I had sticky tape over the shattered broken glass bit.
Oh, no.
And that was my life from then on. And then when it burnt in the house, I was like, that was one of my thoughts when I was like, yes. Replacement non-broken one, and he's never touching it. That made me become a lot more using my phone as well, because I didn't want to touch the
sticky tape covered one. Yeah,
and have that bad memory.
Yeah, so that pretty much brings us to the end of this episode. So thanks very much for coming on.
No, thank you very much. I hope I've been a helpful replacement for Nick. I mean, you guys are both pros on the topics. You guys, this is more of you teaching me and me talking too much.
No, it's good, because you've had things to. We did your review, and we've got the whole epic Phoenix iMac, as I'm calling it, story.
Feel free to share the image for the listeners.
Well, yes, I've actually created one to push the episode with as well, with a Phoenix coming out of an iMac screen. But I'll use your image too for the actual version. So
yeah.
Okay, AuscastNetwork.com. Both Barely Audible and Apple Slice are part of Auscast Network, and you can head to that website to find out us and plenty of others. So very quickly, being part of Auscast Network, and you guys have joined before us, so you've actually met the guys, and one of them's been on your show before, because you're both Adelaide based. So yes. How's that been? Do you touch base with them often, or?
Yeah, they're great guys. They had a couple of drinks nights in town. If you're part of the network, you most likely get the invites if you're local. And they've got their own studio now in town. It's looking pretty good. The recordings that come out of there when they have their parties, I haven't had one come out yet, because presumably I have been on one and they get a little bit out of control. And yeah. I mean, they're great guys. I've had Badcast from the Auscast Network.
Yes, yep.
I've been on their show, and I've had both of their hosts on our show.
On yours, yeah.
Yep. And I've had some of the network guys on the show too. But great network. There's a wide variety of shows. They definitely open my mind to what podcasts can be.
Yes, exactly. No, it's good that they're covering a variety there. And if people want to listen to Barely Audible, where's the best place they can find you?
On the Auscast Network, and every podcasting app.
And any specific social media pages?
Oh, yep. We got our Facebook social media page, and we've just started up a Discord this week. I mean, it's not that active. We've had one person. Yeah.
I'll put the link to that in the show notes for any Discord users.
Yeah. We're hoping to touch base with more users and try and find some stuff that some more people might be happy with. But we've got our fitness competition coming up next month with the the My Zone Fitness. They've sponsored us to do a fitness challenge. We're currently in the middle of a fitness challenge at the moment, and hopefully, if any of your listeners come and listen, hopefully they enjoy it. It's not much tech as this show, which is good because we don't want to have competing podcasts on the network. I'll even tone it down on our show. You want to know about Apple products? Go listen to Apple Byte. Thank you. Oops. Sorry. I'll rewind. I'll let you do that. If you want to listen to anything about Apple products, you go and see Apple Slice. So
thank you. And if you want some lols, if you want some banter, if you want some comedy that's unrestrained, then yeah, definitely check out Barely Audible. But not if you're easily offended. That'll be my disclaimer.
No, I would say that, yes.
Okay, and for Apple Slice, of course, you can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and search in your player, please. It'd be great if you left a review. And hey, if you're in an Apple store, leave us a review. Am I right? So,
yes.
appleslice.com.au, of course, is our website where we post all the episodes as well with all the podcast links. So thanks very much again, Dave. Oh, actually, Because is it SAVILL or SAVILL?
SAVILL, Jimmy.
Because
yep, are you going?
Because when I first saw your name, I was like, had the Cruella de Vil theme in my head.
Cruella de Vil.
So it was like David Seville, David from 101 Dalmatians.
No, never heard that one before. I usually get Jimmy.
Yes, okay. But yeah, that was the first thing. So I'm now picturing you as a skinny, creepy old lady with a big fur coat on. So
hey, I don't have a fur coat.
All right, Dave, that wraps up episode 64 of Apple Slice Podcast. Thanks very much, and hopefully have you again in the future.
No worries. See you guys.
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Auscast network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Auscast.
Simply head to auscastnetwork.com for details.